Hello everyone! It has been a while since I've made a Magic video. Magic the Gathering. My last one, I just watched again today, and it's still sad thinking about how Sisay is gone. I don't feel like Paradox Engine should have been banned. I feel like if they were going to be banning cards, they should have banned some different ones. Demonic Consultation is a huge problem. Flash is a problem. I'm glad those aren't banned because that's what my current EDH deck is. But I wanted to go over my high power deck. For those of you who aren't really familiar, I'm going with the Commander tier list on Tapped Out. There's, your overpowered decks, and then the competitive decks. Then there's the kind of high power, which is going to be, in between your typical medium level casual and then CEDH. So yeah, since the last video, I've become a control player, and I focus heavily on Simic. So I wanted to present glare. There we go. No, it's backwards. Lovely. Apparently this video is going to be backwards. I wanted to present my control Tatyova. I wonder if there's a way that I can adjust that so it's not backwards. Yeah, I think that's going to be particularly annoying. You know what? Whatever. I don't think you guys really need to read the cards. I'll go over them anyway. All right, so I'm going to adjust this camera here. And we shall get started. This is currently the deck I have the most fun with. Like I said, it's Tatyova control. There's not really a whole lot else to say. I'm just going to go ahead and get started with it. Put that right over there. There we go. Of course, we got to get, General Leia. All right, so first off, I will show you the creatures. Now, I've had a lot of people say it's kind of surprising that I play Simic control. They think that it can't be done, and I like to correct them on that. So I'm playing Arbor Elf. I'm actually playing fewer dorks than I normally do, and I've been doing that a lot lately with my green decks, which I find very strange for myself, but I've also been going towards control and blah, 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 blah. Azusa. For those of you who aren't familiar with how Tatyova works, she's from Dominaria. Whenever a land enters a battlefield under your control, you gain 1 life and draw a card. So I have plenty of ways to get a lot of extra lands into play. I've seen a lot of people try to talk about their really competitive Tatyova decks, and they're running like 50 lands. No, you don't do that. I'm running 35. Birds of Paradise. Consecrated Sphinx. A new Dryad of the Elysian Grove. Really cool card. Play an extra land, and it's a prismatic omen on a body. It's really nice. Eternal Witness. I can reuse it with Cloudstone Curio, which you'll see shortly. Llanowar Scout. Combo piece with Retreat to Coral Helm. I have a few others like this. But yeah, tap, put a land into play from your hand. Very nice. I have a couple of lands that bounce themselves. I'm running Simic Growth Chamber and Oboro. So, Lotus Cobra. Aside from being a solid card, it's necessary for one of my combos. Nezahal, Primal Tide. I got that foil stamped one. Nezi's just so good. If I ever build a mono blue deck, like I've toyed with the idea of a couple of them. I had Talrand and stuff. I'm pretty sure I'm going to go for Nezahal. Oracle of Moldiah, or Mooly Dooley, as a friend likes to say. Round-Up Excavator. Of course you're going to play that anyway, but I also play Glacial Chasm, which is another huge part of the control of this deck. So you definitely want to be able to bring that back, because I'm not paying the life every turn. Screw that. Rashmi. Definitely like drawing cards. Steve. Sakura Tribe Scout, another one of those Llanowar Scout type cards. Trigon Predator. I feel like if you're not running this in your Simic deck outside of CEDH, you're doing something wrong. And honestly, I could potentially. I mean, it's too slow for CEDH, but at least it is in my opinion. Walking Atlas. That's the third and final one of the creatures that taps and puts a land into play. And Wayward Swordtooth. Now, I've had a friend suggest that I run Kinnan, I believe is how it's pronounced, from the upcoming Ikoria set. I don't really have a whole lot of non-land mana sources, as you saw. I'm only running a few rocks as well, so I will not be running that. Alright, next. I will show you the very few artifacts that I'm running. I do have a proxy in here. It's right now it's just a backwards card. I'm getting that one as soon as I go to my LGS. Given the quarantine, I kind of don't really want to go there. They're doing like curbside pickup, but it's also a good 20 plus miles away from me. Something like that. So there's one more card I'm trying to find, and I'll get to that later. And then I technically have every card for this deck. I have a Proxy Tropical Island in here, but I have that in another deck anyway. So, first, Cloudstone Curio. Just solid advantage. It's kind of a backup Simic Growth Chamber. Bounce back things like Eternal Witness. I like it a lot. Of course, Crucible of Worlds. Mana Crypt. Mox Diamond. I'm not running Chrome Mox. I don't know, I just don't feel like it's really going to do anything for me here. I don't really want to get rid of the cards in my hand, since I'm trying to hold on to them and play on opponent's turns. It is a control deck after all. Sol Ring. And then this is supposed to be Soul Guide Lantern. I was running Scavenger Grounds. Unfortunately, I kind of need my graveyard in this deck, so I had to switch to something else. On to the enchantments, of which I run 3. I recently cut Sylvan Library, because this deck runs a lot, or draws a lot of cards anyway. Sylvan Library is one of those cards that, it feels great if you can get it turn 1 or maybe turn 2, and after that it just kind of sucks. Argue with me if you want on that. Testing has shown that it doesn't do very well in here. So, I think I only have it left in my CEDH deck. I might have it in this casual deck, and I'll point out what those are later. I'm not going to show them, but it's coming out if so. Exploration. Mystic Remora. The main people I play this deck with also play very strong decks, like in that high power level. They're fast. They're very well tuned. Mystic Remora hurts them. Rhystic Study does not, because we're smart enough to pay the 1. You always pay the 1. So at that point, it's just a more expensive Sphere of Resistance. Is that what it is? Sphere of Resistance? Thorn of Amethyst? Which, I mean, it really doesn't matter. The way that these decks ramp, it's insignificant. There's a guy who plays Azami, and his deck ramps like crazy. There's a Galta player. It's the scariest Galta deck I've ever seen. And, I mean, there's really no point. I've considered picking one up for playing with more casual players, quote unquote. People outside of that group. But there's no room. It just doesn't necessarily feel like... It doesn't feel like it's really going to do a whole lot. Still tempted, though. I just can't really think of a card to cut. Retreat to Coral Helm is the last enchantment. I only run a few. Very important card. Whenever a land enters the battlefield under your control, you can either scry one or tap or untap target creature. Scrying is useful, but I typically use that with Llanowar Scout. That with Llanowar Scout or Walking Atlas or Sakura Tribe Scout and one of the bounce lands, either Oboro or Simic Growth Chamber, is an infinite combo. You draw your entire deck. And you'll see the win con I have with that later. Now here's one of the big changes from the previous deck. I know I never shared this one online, but that's my stack of instant speed spells. Everything is double sleeved, so it's less than you might think, but still. Like I said, I've turned into a control player. So we're going to start off with Beast Within. Took the foil out of Sisay and added it in here. I've added a lot of cards in here from Sisay. Some of them went into my other CEDH decks. Brainstorm. Running 8 cantrips. Considering maybe getting some more, but Counterspell. Crop Rotation. Of course, Cyclonic Rift. Disallow. I'm running 10 counterspells in here, I believe. Disdainful Stroke. Dispel, which will become the new free counterspell that's coming in the Commander 2020 precons. Cannot remember the name of it right now, but Force of Negation. Force of Vigor. Honestly, even if I have to pay retail for this, it's not that bad with all the mana I produce. Force of Will. Ghostly Flicker is one of my combo pieces. This with Mystic Sanctuary and Cloudstone Curio, a couple other cards like that, lets me go infinite. Just keep drawing cards. So it's also a pseudo counter spell. Strong protection piece. Lets you protect artifacts, creatures, or lands, like exile, flicker them. It's pretty good. Impulse. Mana Drain. The next card is one of the other proxies. It's supposed to be a Mystical Tutor. It's one of those cards I'm going to try. I've tried it on and off in here. Now that I'm running more ways to get lands on the board and Mystic Sanctuary and all that other fun stuff, pretty sure I want to give it another shot. If it doesn't work out, maybe I'll find the Heuristic Study and put it in over that. We'll see. I've got to find a Mystical Tutor first. I have one in CDH deck, I think. Actually, I may have taken that out. Nature's Claim. I want to run Natural State as well, but again, room. Negate. Opt. Pongify. Rapid Hybridization. Reality Shift. You blue players really should be running those. Swan Song. Void Slime, and Worldly Tutor. Damn here. Alright, on to my sorceries. Decent chunk there. Playing Fabricate right now. I would not be playing this if I didn't have both Cloudstone Curio and Crucible of Worlds. In worst case scenario, it's a Worn Power Stone. Like, I can grab Mana Crypt, so... Farseek. Finale of Devastation is one of my pseudo win cons. With the amount of mana this deck can produce, I mean, I can pretty easily pump, 22 into this to give everything +20/+20 in haste. And I have ways to get more creatures on the board than what you just saw. Cataxium Probe. Grandson Zenith. Into the north. Nature's Lore. We want to keep getting those lands into play. Ponder. Preordain. Rampant Growth. I run 12 basics. Serum Visions. I bought the Secret Lair for that one. The glass, painted stained glass? Whatever. Art of Ashiok is gorgeous. Sleight of Hand. And Sylvan Scrying. Very useful for getting either the bounce lands or, well, you'll see. Alright. Primary win con. Jace. Only Planeswalker I run. 35 lands, like I said. I had 36 before. I cut Scavenger Grounds for Soul Guide Lantern, so now we're back to 35. I like 36 in this deck, so I'm going to test and see. Maybe if Mystical Tutor comes out, then another land will come in. Ancient Tomb. Breeding Pool. Cavern of Souls. Command Tower. Field of the Dead. has been putting in a lot of work. And I run both regular basics and snow basics for this. So, yeah. That's another thing where Finale of Devastation really comes in handy. I'll just create an army of zombies and then swing out. I have won that way at least once. I typically win through Jace. I mean, it's pretty easy to draw through the whole deck. This is an extremely slow deck still. Like, this is typically about the amount of cards I have left in my deck when I win. If I win. I've had a player get kind of upset at me before because I was taking too long to beat them. Well, sorry, this is a control deck. It's designed to go kind of slow. Flooded Strand. I'm running 2 of the Pokemon Energy card forests. I replaced my unstable basics with those because I like these so much, and the nostalgia of like it looking like a Pokemon Energy, so nice. Glacial Chasm, I mentioned that earlier. Easily the best protection piece in the deck, especially considering the decks like Galta and Ojutai. There's a Rakdos player as well. I mean, I have to be able to get around those huge decks that can swing. I gain life, but, you know, life is a meme. Hinterland Harbor. I'm running 3 water energy cards, 3 of the new islands. Misty Rainforest. Mystic Sanctuary. This card is so much better than a common. It just blows my mind that this card was printed. I saw a Tatyova player who doesn't run it, and I don't understand that. Like, they're running 5 of the 7 fetches that they can, or 6, I guess, if they have Prismatic Vista. I think they have that. I'm not running Fabled Passage, as you've seen. Everything is in alphabetical order. But really, you're not running Mystic Sanctuary? I mean, they said it didn't work for them, so whatever. Abora. Pay 1, return it to the owner's hand, enters untapped, taps for blue. I mean, it works. Polluted Delta. Prismatic Vista. Reliquary Tower. Scalding Tarn. Excuse me. Simic Growth Chamber. I'm running 3 Snow-Covered Forests. And 4 Snow-Covered Islands. I got 1 foil there. I'm trying to get more of them. They're hard to find. Strip Mine. It blows my mind that so many people don't even run this in their deck. Like, at least run Ghost Quarter. That Proxy Tropical Island. Again, I do have a real one. Not that that really matters. My group allows proxies. Verdant Catacombs. This game is prohibitively expensive. So, Waterlogged Grove, Windswept Heath, Wooded Foothills, and Yavimaya Coast. So that is Control Tatyova. Pretty straightforward deck. I would say she's not the easiest to play, but I mean, she is really fun. When I made the Sisei deck, this was still a Battlecruiser deck. Played big things like... Played a lot of big things like Crash of Rhino Beetles. I think I had Terastodon. Played Galta. You know, all that fun stuff. But it just doesn't work that way anymore. I don't really need Battlecruiser. Like I said, I've turned into a control player. I like mid-range and control. And the old deck was mid-range, but I wanted something stronger. So, yeah, I'm going to quickly show you the other decks that I have. I'm not actually going to go through them. Just kind of pull the commanders out and point a couple things out about them. This is what I call my casual deck. I'd say it's mid-power. By that, I mean there are no combos. These Dragon Shield art sleeves are wonderful. There are no combos. I mean, I guess there technically is a pseudo-infinite by making copies of Nyx Bloom Ancient. I don't play any free cards. There's no fetches. Compared to Tatyova, this is like a $500 deck, maybe a little bit cheaper. But this is Thrasios and Crom Big Mana Helix Pinnacle. So it's a deck designed to win with Helix Pinnacle or a huge amount of mana into Hydra Brute Master, or a huge Finale of Devastation. It is also a control deck. Next up, the big box. This is one deck that turns into 3. My current EDH deck is Thrasios and Tymna Oracle Hulk. It can either turn into just a straight Thrasios and Tymna Isochron Scepter Demonic Consultation deck with no Hulk, or it can turn into Control Zur. And as you can see here, this is all the stuff that swaps in for Zur. So, I'm missing a single card from this deck, and that is Imperial Seal. I have everything else, so I'm proxying the Imperial Seal because, well, like I mentioned, my group doesn't care. But yeah, thank you very much for watching.